What's up, flooring family? Welcome to the Huddle. We come at you every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. With me today, as always, is Daniel and Jose Gonzalez from Preferred Flooring up in Michigan. We got some special guests today. We got Jerry Lee, Sonny Callahan, and Beth Miller. I'll let you guys go through and do a brief introduction here. You want to start us off there, Jerry?
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. So my name's Jerry Lee. Work with Protect All Commercial Flooring. Been in the industry for 22 years. Not only worked with vinyl flooring, but also some resinous and poured floors also. But very glad to be a part of this today. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Beth?
Hey, everybody. I'm Beth Miller with FCI Magazine. I'm the managing editor, and I get to spend every day talking to you lovely people. So it's kind of nice to actually be on the other end of the camera.
Well, welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
Nice.
Sonny.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Appreciate you having me on, Paul. Sonny Callahan, founder of Divergent Adhesives, but also more importantly, the founder of NAFCT along with Paul Pleshak. And we're here to talk about how we can educate everybody in the industry and pull us all together. So I appreciate you having us.
Awesome. Well, welcome aboard. So today's topic is uniting the flooring industry. And we were talking offline here just a moment ago about how that could probably be a 4-hour podcast because there's so many different realms in the flooring to unite. But in general, the topic is aimed at, for me, I see the biggest divide being, we go to, say, a show and you see all these beautiful flooring products there and everybody's oohing and on. And I've taken a few people to their first show at Coverings or something like that. They get pretty big-eyed, didn't understand the flooring industry was as big as it is. And then I always point out, like, all that pretty stuff doesn't matter if you don't have somebody who's going to put it in professionally. Like, it just doesn't matter. You'll take this beautiful product and make it look like, make it look like hell, for lack of a better word. So, the biggest divide I see is manufacturers make stuff, distributors distribute stuff. The flooring companies buy it and then need labor. But there's been over the last, I don't know, I guess it could be up for argument's sake, at least a decade or two, where the flooring installation community kind of falling from grace from a quality perspective. I asked the question many times, and I could pose it to this panel, but if you either know people that installed back in the 40s and 50s or did it yourself, I often ask the question, was the installation quality, the craftsmanship better then or now, just as a whole? And it's hands down. I mean, we know the answer. It's kind of rhetorical, but they were so well trained, and most were employee installers at a flooring company of some sort. And today those dynamics have changed. It's split the industry a bit. And so that's what we're here to talk about. That was a long introduction. Let's get it on.
That's it.
Let's go.
So what do you guys think of from a training aspect? I mean, we don't have a flooring college. We're just kind of now getting a very introductory level course that's been kind of inserted into different community colleges. What do you guys think of these approaches?
I think you might have.
No, I think it's great. If you guys don't mind, I'll go first. I think it's great. I'm looking at this panel. I'm thinking about all the people who are listening. Chances are I've met you through an association, right? So get involved with the group that's closest to your goals and ambitions in the industry, right? So, most of you guys are through FCICA. I've met you, CFI, and other groups like that. But being able to take the time and it's not even the training for me, it's the networking, to get to know the people that if you do have a problem on a job site, you know who to call. Right? It's if you don't know the answer, you know the person to call to get the answer. And I think a lot of people misunderstand what training is at that point. They think, well, okay, I got the certification, I should make twice as much as what I'm paying. that doesn't necessarily equate to the same thing, right? It's the ease of making your job better.
Yeah, good points. I think training is because of the siloed nature of it in our industry. I think the advice you just gave of finding the association that closest fits your, I don't know, your skill set, whether it's tile or carpet or whatever, there's an organization for each one, and then getting involved is the key. As installers, if you're an independent installer, you are your company. You are a company, and you getting involved is a big piece of, I think, healing the industry in a lot of ways. But anyway, yeah, great point, Sonny. How about you, Jeff?
Jerry.
Jerry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry.
Right, no.
You
Jeff,
mixed up
moment of
Jerry and
silence
Matt.
for Jeff, please.
Well, I figured it was me because I didn't see a Jeff on the call. But that training's been a difficult dynamic for us. One is, there's a lot of times that we set up and host classes, and we arrive to do a 2-day session, and installers get called out to the job. So then, are we getting the right people into those? And I get it. Everybody's busy, and due to labor shortages. So we've done some things to try to accommodate, just to beyond deposits and things like that, but really to make it intriguing and to get the right people in. But for us, it's training isn't one session. It's it's follow up 6 months later, touching welding again, and some of the more detailed items just to make sure that it's stuck after that 2-day class. So it's we've expanded our training force in the last year just so we can make those extra touches and keep expanding on it. And we just did a contractor focus group, and when we do get those groups together to try to bring in other resources to talk about adhesive and prep and some of those types of things. So training is one of the most important things that we do. And, we're continuing to think of creative ways, especially after the pandemic, when people didn't want us to, we couldn't be face to face. So we started some virtual sessions, but now getting back to that face to face, but expanding on all those so we can just continue to keep that knowledge going. And we're still looking for good ways to make sure that, the classes are attended when we get there. And we don't have the best answer yet, but continuing to kind of dive into those topics with my group and come up with better ways.
When you do your guys' training, do you guys train on the floor prep side of things ahead of, or is it pretty focused on?
It's pretty detailed on Protectol. We're starting to get into more of the floor prep. But one of the other suggestions that we've had from some of the people on my team is when we do one of those, we have somebody from a tool manufacturer come in. We have somebody from a prep manufacturer come in, just to try to make the best of that and bring that extra knowledge to those groups. And we've had some success with it. It's still not where we want it to be, but we're making efforts around that. So but then you're always up against the time factor, because now you're bringing in, it's full 2 days, could roll into 3, but we're trying to do that in a condensed fashion just to offer that extra bit of knowledge beyond just the Protectol side.
Yeah, that's a form of uniting and I know, Sonny, you do this a lot with the NAFCT is NAFCT. Sorry, Jeff's with us, and he'll back me up on that one.
Jeff
is uniting these different manufacturers because everybody's products got to play together, right? And figure out how that works. And sometimes you just don't know, so it's great for those trainings to be together. But outside of training, how I know it's the one time we can all get together, and that seems like uniting. But how do we unite the industry overall to really back the training entities in a meaningful way? I know there's some successes out there, and some of you guys can speak on this better than myself, but I thought I'd pose the question. How is the manufacturing? I know they're involved with the FCEF and a lot of the other associations, but still seems to me like training is still like put on the back burner for stuff, and it blows my mind. I'm an old installer, so like I installed Protectol. I've installed a lot of sheet goods and resilient products where kind of I lived, and it just still seems like it still seems to be forgotten a bit. I don't know.
Yeah. For me, I think it starts with the manufacturers, right? These manufacturers starting to bring just like what Jerry said, they're starting to bring more people in and start training again. Well, if you have one person training this way and another person training the other way, you've got to make sure they're teaching the best practices, right? So what we've done is we've created the curriculum so that the technical department can have the curriculum to standardize what all these different companies are teaching, but we also allow them to be product specific. So we've all been to association presentations and they're talking about the self-leveler, the patching compound, the this, where the manufacturers can teach the correct curriculum or at least a standardized curriculum and then plug in their product. You get sales and marketing and you get technical. Well, guess who gets the money? Sales and marketing gets the money, right? So if we can combine the two together, we've seen a lot of success with having people go through the class and just standardize it. But again, I think having a manufacturer involved is key to success.
Well, Beth, you talk to manufacturers a lot. Does installation come up? I want to preface that with.
It comes up if I ask.
I was going to preface that with every magazine I read or article, if it's not pro installer, there's like this, or we're on this kick of the labor shortage for a time. You can see it in the publications. It's like all of a sudden labor shortage comes up again, and it's in every one of them.
Yep.
But for the most part, outside that, like uniting together to have this standardized curriculum, which I've always thought it was a very clever way to bring in manufacturers and get a training that each one trains on their products a specific and standardized way. And that's a great way to use product demos, which, you know, I know you elongate those, not just a product demo, but still like and your sales reps and people like that can get involved, and it comes out of different pots at the manufacturing.
So we've all heard about solution-based selling. This is solution-based training. That's all it is, right? We teach what can go wrong on the job, and then our manufacturer, our educational partners, they teach how to use their products to fix that problem. Because if I teach you how to use my product, what did I just do? I just sold you my product.
Yeah,
so you kind of touching both ends.
Yeah, that's one of the big complaints with installers. We've done multiple surveys. The number one reason installers are not certified, that was the question we asked. Why are you certified? If not, why? That's basic the survey. Number one reason, I don't know where to go. Number two reason, it doesn't make me any more money. And number three reason, they just do not think it makes them any better. They don't see any value in it whatsoever. Yeah. So, you know, it kind of plays all to this, you know, in my opinion, we need to start really having a higher expectation of the manufacturer to continue to work with these things and the installer to take advantage of the training. I mean, Jerry can't train, you can't train. I mean, Beth can't put out training topics and locations without the training happening and installers participating. So the installer participation piece is another one that just, I don't know how to fix it perfectly other than what I'm doing at Go Carrera, which is, you know, giving them lasting value. But that third point was, well, yeah, say Forbo. It's great if I'm installing Forbo, but outside that, it doesn't give me any value. Well, if you've installed before and ever messed with Forbo or been through one of their trainings, you know that just going to, even if you don't get the certificate, just going to the Forbo training. Now, I don't know where that's at this moment because I know they pulled back on that. And
yeah, they have a great class.
I hope
it makes you a better installer. It's really what it does.
Put it back forward. Protect All's class is another good example. We've sent 3 or 4 installers to Michigan for that. But the thought process is it's great when I'm installing that floor. It doesn't make me anything else unless I'm bidding on installation for that product. What Go Carrera does, just give them lasting value. So that's our attempt at like making these trainings mean something long term. But I do think that that's one of the industry told us, the installer said, well, we don't see the value, we don't know where to go. So they told us what problems to fix. We got to unite together to try to fix those. That's my 2 cents. But
I
what was
kind of
you
want to
saying, Beth?
interject on that. I want to interject on that for a second, real quick. Sorry to interrupt, guys, but they don't see any value and it doesn't make them any more money, right? So you're probably right in the sense, but if that's where you're going to stay mentally, then you probably don't need to make more money. You probably don't deserve to make more money. And the trainings and the certifications don't make you more money. They make you more valuable to yourself and to the industry. So in
Exactly.
turn, you can generate additional revenue, right? You might not make more money per square foot, but your failure rate is going to decrease. And then the phone calls that you get because of your success rates and the high end work you kick out is going to increase, which in turn could dictate the your value a little bit more. Now you're more valuable to the industry, to your local people, and you can bump your rates up a little bit because you are valuable.
Well,
So
just put the skills to, like you said, put the skills to work that you learned, and you will make more money. That's
yeah,
like
just
maybe not the day you get back from training, but you prove the trainings you've been through, you prove what they've done for your approach and technique and
yes,
quality, and then you can demand more. We have guys as at Stewart and Associates installation companies that do absolutely fantastic work, and they do get paid more by us. They're less headache. We know we're not going to have to go out to the job site as much. I mean, you will make more money. I don't know where that came from. That is just what the survey said, but
Yep.
so it's obvious
oh,
that's
I know
what
where it came from. It came from
standardized.
people like me. It came from people like me that back in the day when people said go get your certifications, like it ain't gonna do me any justice. Go learn something. Why? I already know how to do it. Right? I was stubborn. I was pig-headed. It came from people just like me. I know exactly where it came from, and that's why it's easy for me to go ahead and push back on that now because if you guys aren't willing to invest in yourself, like I wasn't willing to invest in myself a while ago. I mean, it wasn't until Daniel pushed me through that door, right? Like, hey, dude, we got to start doing this. It's like, dude, you're right. I don't have anything to show for almost 20 years of installation. Like, you're right. And if you don't invest in yourself, you won't receive any additional funds. You won't receive anything in addition to what you're already making. And granted, some people are after the large dollars. Some people are after the long term, the longevity of their career. And there's no wrong way when you're going and getting educated and training yourself. If you want the large dollar, go get educated, train yourself, have more knowledge, right? Familiarize yourself with more than one product because the whether you like it or not, those disciplines they overlap. They
Yeah.
overlap. The more you know about everything collectively, the better off you are.
Well, and the more
And
the guys that know that you can send to do a tile job and then turn around and send them to do a Flash Cove sheet vinyl project, they're like worth their weight in gold. you know,
yeah,
so they
very very rare. Very
you're a
rare.
good example of proof that the way you were, the way you did think, is flawed, right? And you change that
Yes.
and look at the results. I mean, this podcast has been here to try to expose that if you will just take the step and get yourself to these training courses, go to Go Career's training page, go to the NAFCT's training page, go to there are a lot of places to go now where you can find it. You got to take the leap of faith.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, that that's where it came from, but how do we fix that? How do you
Yeah.
fix the people that believe that? And it's only education and a podcast like this that bring out the truth. I made more money after I started getting certified, and this was after I started this company. It was just a mindset shift.
Well, I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of it has to do with, like he said, your mindset, and then thinking that, why do I need this? I already know how to do it. And then what happens
Yeah.
is you go to your first class, and then you learn that, one or two nuggets, and it's like, I never thought of that before, and I'm never going to do it the old way again. And then it's like, well, what else have I been doing wrong? And then further in your education from there, because I mean,
Yeah, what else are you
you got to be
missing?
humble enough to say, all right, I don't know everything. Let me go learn from
Yes.
someone that does.
Well,
You
yeah,
don't
you
know
don't
what you
know what
don't
you
know.
don't know.
Yeah.
That's it. There we go.
Well,
Well, I
guys,
think the two of you. Go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's some really important points in here. First one, Forbo. That was my first installation class that I ever attended. I learned so much from that, and it opened my eyes to, just the quality of the class. And, starting off an installation, I heard a lot about it, signed myself up for the class, got in. And, but after that, we've expanded because we've had to get people interested in training. And you don't want to market failures and things like that, but we do talk about what can happen by not going through it. And anybody who's put in Protectol, if they don't pay attention to the welding process, and we had one of the biggest challenges years ago when we rolled out Rapid Weld, because everybody, a 30-year-old heat welder, he knows how to weld. He's not going to come to a class learn how to put on Rapid Weld, and we fought that battle. But when we started to show some of that, not marketing us negatively, but a poor weld, what can happen to you? But one that's helped us a little bit also get people interested in coming to classes is talking about bidding correctly. And Jose, you were touching on it. Timing that it takes to weld or base and those types of things. So we've added in a portion that is more than just installation, but knowing how to bid properly and make sure that you're making money on it, things like that. And that's also, it's helped a little bit. I can't say it's completely, it has people knocking down our doors for it, but, we get good participation and people are interested in that. So we've expanded on topics like that also, which, that does catch people's attention, and it's been beneficial.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think Jose and Daniel nailed it. I mean, it's not for the instant gratification. I mean, just look at the two of them. Look how long they've been doing training. 5-6 years. I don't know how long ago, Daniel, did we meet at a heat weld class?
Yeah, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while, and look at the success you guys have had. But the biggest challenge that I see from installers when we say we want them to come to a certification course, their first thought is, oh, you're going to try to teach me how to install floors. That's not what I'm doing. You know how to teach. You know how to install floors. I'm teaching you better ways to do it. And if you pick up 2 or 3 or 4 different points at the class, guess what? That's 2 or 3 or 4 different callbacks you're not going to get, right? And it takes 2 or 3 of those a year to where you're making more money, right? You don't have to go fix a headache because, oh, I learned that at a class. That's making you money. So you've got to understand the principle of, it's not just, hey, I want more per square foot or per yard, whatever it is. I always tell people it's like a professional athlete, right? You think a Major League Baseball player doesn't know how to play baseball? He knows how to play baseball really good. But guess what he does in between games? He practices. He trains. It's the exact same thing. You can't assume. You can't rest on your laurels. You can't assume that what you're doing is the right way or the best way. I gave a presentation last week about ASTM and ASTM standards. It's shocking that people don't know about these standards, yet when there's a complaint against your work, guess what you're going to be judged by? ASTM standards, right? Yeah. And these guys don't have it in their pocket. You should be in your toolbox right next to your hammer. Your project managers need to have it. Again, what we just said a few minutes ago, you don't know what you don't know. And when you get involved with these groups, for me, I sit down with Sim Chrysler every time I can. I think I know a lot about the industry. I sit down with Sim Chrysler. I don't say a word for an hour and a half. I listen. I learn from them. And there's people like that all through the industry that you've got to be humble and understand there's things that you can learn.
I love that part. I love that part of the industry, by the way, you guys. That's my favorite.
The what?
The part where everyone's willing to share information.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. Like, I like to learn, right? Like, I like to absorb information. I love that part that everyone has about them.
Yeah, especially the old timers. They're willing to share a lot.
Yep.
Beth, what do you
So I was gonna say there's 2 things that I think are kind of missing. And I'm gonna rewind just a little bit, the manufacturer conversation. Something that I stumbled across in all my dealings with everyone and all these shows that I go to. We all know who the manufacturers are who are involved in installation. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But if you talk to any of the others who aren't, and you say, so what do you think about this, installer shortage? Well, it's not my problem. And that's been the attitude of the ones who aren't involved. And so just like you're talking about the installers trying to switch their attitude and convince them that training is worthwhile, it's going to make them better, more efficient installers. How do you have that same problem but with the manufacturer? So how do you convert them also, to see the value in training and to see the value in having an installer who can do an excellent job with their product and make them look better?
Yeah, it seems like one thing to point out, it seems to be, the real forefront companies do training,
Right.
like your I'll just say inventors of product, the people who are on your protectiles that made product, and it has a specific way of installation, specifically with rapid weld, uh, your Nora rubbers, your Forbos, and then your larger companies, and they just they got away from training altogether, the manufacturers, because of the liability. Am I right in that, Sonny? Is that
That's exactly what it is. They don't want to give a certification because of the liability.
yeah? And then they even, I understood, kind of pulled back on even like completion courses, and it blows my mind. Like
Yeah.
that, like the certificate of completion side of things. So you don't get a certification, but you get a certificate of completion. But what blows my mind is that the manufacturers gave up on that so easy. I mean, some of them are not, obviously, but they gave up on that. They just wanted to wash their hands of the liability, and it's like, well, what about the I think it was last year was $3.4 billion, 3.4 billion in flooring failures.
I believe it.
Ooh,
That's annual. If we can't fix and that includes moisture, and when you include moisture, it bumps it up there quite a bit. And some of it, you look at different studies or surveys, but yeah, around 3.4, 3.8 billion collectively. Well, if we could lower that by half by manufacturers stepping in and educating again, what is your take, Jerry, just from the manufacturer's side of things? What is the big liability? No manufacturer's really been able to answer that, because if they set up a separate entity to train out of, I just use one of the big names like Shaw, and it was Shaw Training LLC, a completely separated entity. They could do this just like a college and have no liability. When a surgeon gets a malpractice suit, they don't sue Harvard freaking medical, right? So what is your from the manufacturer side there, Jerry? What's your take on that?
Yeah, to me, it comes back to resources. Luckily, I have visibility to our parent company, the roofing manufacturer, and they have that. And the reason they're able to is because they inspect every job that goes in, and that's how they grade their contractors. For us, we're just not big enough to be able to do that yet. And we tried it years ago to be able to put eyes on it and to be able to, it was just a major undertaking. We just weren't ready to do that yet. But it's in conversations that we have quite often on how do we bring back that grading system, stay up on it, just to make sure that installers are meeting the 5-star level that we would want them to be. But we haven't figured it out yet. And it is something that we would like to get to.
Well, I got a couple solutions for you. We should talk offline. So
having a network of trusted installers across the country that can go inspect too.
well, yeah, and the fact that if you're Protect All trained and you have that value on your hammer rating, you can tag the product, and then you would know the level of execution for each installer who's touched your product, at least on our network. So anyway, we can talk about that offline. I try not to be too salesy with Go Carrera on this, but a lot of the problems we
You
are
should be.
attempting to
You should be
solve.
selling it every episode.
Yeah.
Well, we inevitably fall in and start talking about it, but having a full network of graded installers, so to speak, scored at the very least, and your guys' training has an impact on those people's scores. We have your training on our platform, and but yeah, so back to the uniting of it. That's what from a training and then if you said utopian world, it's like you get out of college and or out of high school and there's some inkling for you to go into flooring, and there's this welcome place. We don't have that welcome place. Like, hey, come into our, I think FCEF's trying to be that, but here's where you need to go first and second and third, to get plugged into the industry. Make sure that training's almost from the very beginning.
Well, there's no formalized training. It's word of mouth. That's all we have.
Yeah.
My uncle installs. Let me get this guy, let me get my nephew to work with me. It needs to be, and I always hear it's the chicken, which came first, the chicken or the egg. It's like, well, we don't have the training because nobody's asking for it. Well, nobody's asking for it because you don't have the training, right? So that's one of the gaps that we need to fill before we can start really getting people right out of high school to come in the installation. Because if you think about flooring, I didn't mean to cut you off, Paul, but
no, you're good.
When you think about flooring, especially when you come in from the installation side of it, there's no other industry out there anywhere that opens more doors than an installer and floor covering. You can be an inspector, you can work for a manufacturer, you can have your own store, you can get in logistics, because if you understand how these things fit, it's crazy what all you can get into. Whatever you want to do in the industry, you can do it. You just got to look for it. But that message is not getting to people coming out of high school, coming out of college, coming out of the armed forces. We're not getting that message to them. And that's the bridge we need to gap for sure.
Yeah, I think
you got people like John Steyer who are trying to change that as well. I know that he's
Oh, sure. There's a lot of groups that are trying. Yep.
Yeah, and Crystal, baby sisters, tried to educate at the local high school as well, or in the area, and the same thing here. It can try to get in there until we're blue in the face, but everyone is always. We have a couple roadblocks. Is really all it is, right?
Yeah,
We
sure.
have to put ourselves in a position where we are also glorified as some of the other trades, so that way people are made aware of us and our. And what the flooring industry has to offer as a whole, not just the installation side, but you're right, like everything else that comes along with it.
And that's where it comes as a package, right? Where everyone has to come together, because we talked about manufacturers and how some of them don't care about training. And then you go on some of these retail groups, and a lot of, what's been on some of these retail groups lately is it's not our deal to train the installers or to let them know that they're worth more. If they don't know that they're worth more, I'm just going to keep on paying them. But then you get these, low paid installers that can't go to training because they can't afford it, and they can't pay guys what they're worth because they don't know how to charge. And it's just like a vicious circle, and it just keeps on doing the same thing over and over again. And then, I got a comment from Facebook from Kendall, and he's just going back to manufacturers about blaming installers and stuff like that. His example was, carpet delamination. They always want to blame the installers when it's not the installer's fault. But that's where you have to take into consideration, if you take some of these classes, you learn about what to look for and stuff like that. So it's carpet delamination, and this is how you document everything from, all right, I think this is a manufacturer defect. This is what I'm going to document. This is who I have to talk to. This is who I'm going to send it to. And then that way everything is a process, right? And these are things that you don't know because you're not talking to the right people. We've been through it, where we go on a job and it's like, this is your guys' fault. And it's like, 100% it's not. I guarantee it. Send an inspector
And here's
out.
why. Here's why.
Yeah, send an inspector out. I got pictures from the start to the finish. What do you guys need to know?
Well, that's the that's the combative nature a bit between manufacturer and installation is you can almost guarantee, unless you have a slam dunk claim, and I've been through a lot of claims over the years, 23, 25 years of being in business. The in the inspector community, you know, should not. I don't like when the manufacturer hires the inspector and they come to my job. I've yet to have that turn out great.
Not in your favor.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
very rarely lose these scenarios because we do document so well. But the point I wanted to bring up was your point, Daniel, that I think gets missed in training is that you start to learn what is being looked for and you can protect yourself. The nuggets that Sonny mentioned earlier that you pick up on jobs. I mean, I've had that happen. Like in our company, we had a couple of subs that CFI, I talked them into going and getting CFI, and they've been doing it. They learned from their uncle, who was actually a union trained installer and resilient and carpet, I guess. They were very good installers. So they were very reluctant to go to the training. They came back and they've since went to another one. So they're all the way through C2 because they were like, I didn't even know like all these different little tricks that I was taught at this thing.
Yep.
You know, you just don't, like you said, Beth,
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know. I implore you guys to give yourself an advantage, if nothing else, the confidence of knowing that you've been trained by industry standards.
Yeah.
That's my rally cry to every installer all the time.
Well, and if you don't get anything else, the people listening don't get anything else from this podcast, it's what you just said. Documentation. Me as a manufacturer, because I am a manufacturer, when I have a complaint and I approach the complaint and the contractor, the installer has all the information in front of them and they're open and they're talking, this whole process goes a lot easier. It's when you're combative from day one because you don't know what you did right or did wrong. You just, I didn't check it for moisture. Why should I check for moisture? It's a 50-year-old building, right? You know what you're supposed to do and what you're not going to do. You can actually work with a manufacturer, and I'm telling you, things are going to go better for you.
Yeah, Sonny. Yeah, Sonny, I'll jump in on that too. It helps us because, you know, if we ever get called to a situation, we want to figure it out. You know, we want to get everything resolved. But that helps us all come to what caused it. Not just to say, well, I did that. You know, show it so we can validate it. And absolutely, you know, we want to get to the root so we can correct it and make sure, you know, there's no more issues moving forward.
Has any of those scenarios for you, Jerry, led to new training techniques within the class? Say you get on a claim and you see that, we probably should train on this more. Do those things come up? I'm just curious. That's a little
absolutely. You know, one that we saw we rolled out Rapid Weld. It's concave seams. So, you know, additional training on that. When I said earlier on that follow up, after somebody goes through the class, going back, because we know if somebody lets the weld sit too long before they smooth it, it drags it out of the seam, becomes concave. So yeah, we've now what we call refreshers, as we go back and we touch on those topics where we see that we need to spend extra time, where maybe, you know, when the class is done, everybody's ready to get back out to the field. But yeah, there's certain items that we want to go back and just make sure they're comfortable. And it goes back to what everybody was talking about today. So the installer's comfortable when they finish. It's a good job. Everything is good. It's solid. We looks all want. Good.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that in general, nobody goes to work like, I want to screw this up today, you know? So most installers, if they make a mistake,
they may say they don't care. I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
I don't get paid enough. I mean, look at floor prep. I don't care. I don't get paid enough.
Although we say this like a joke, the one thing that we do say is, you can't see it from my house.
Yeah, there you go.
I think I've heard that a couple of times, and we say that about a lot of things, but it's more or less a joke. But
that whole I
think some guys are serious about that, and then my pet peeve is hearing an installer say, "Oh, coat base will cover it."
Code
Like,
base of flooring.
you wouldn't have
Two
to worry
layers.
about it if it was cut in tight to the freaking wall.
Just need 2 layers of code base. You'll be good.
Yeah, I can't do this, and here's why. ASTM 710, boom. That solves about 50% of your problems right there. And I mentioned it. General, especially you're doing commercial work, general contractors want to minimize their liability as well. If you tell them this is why I can't do it, it's going to fail. I don't care if you find a guy who will do it $1 a foot. It'll still fail. They're going to go with you if you can back it up. I promise you.
Yeah.
So, ASTM standards are in every single contract that we've got.
That's right. That's right.
We use them in our favor, actually.
Yeah, that's right. You should.
We use them in our favor. That's our firepower. We use them opposite of what has been used against us. So
no,
yeah,
it's not preferred saying no. It's ASTM saying no. ASTM is pretty recognized, right?
They don't like that. Nobody likes it. Well, according to the ASTM standards, and right here on your guys' master contract, it says that I have to abide by these, but you guys are telling me not to right now. So now we have a conflict of interest here. Now,
that's right.
I'm going to be held to these standards. If it fails, it doesn't matter what I have. And we've had the conversation a few times, but I think it's becoming few and further in between where those conversations are actually coming up.
Yeah.
So Kendall came back with, he said that he's documented stuff right out of the gate, taking pictures, and the manufacturers still blame the installer. So what is it, like, whatever certification he has, what does it matter at that point? Because he needs the shop to have his back. And he's just wondering what a good response would be, right? So essentially...
Ask the certifying body. And who certified them? Give the information to them. I'd be happy to talk to anybody through NAFCT. CFI would be happy to talk to anybody who said, look, this is what I'm going. That's what they're there for.
Right. And
that's one thing.
That's the thing. They got these numbers for these associations and stuff like that. You give them a call, and it's like, hey, I'm running into this. Who can I talk to? And then they give you a list of people. This is who you can talk to in this field.
Yeah. Yep. There's always going to be bad manufacturers. There's nothing we can do about it. But I promise you, the high majority of them want you to do a good job and want to help you do a good job and don't want any problems, right? They're going to work with you, not against you.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you get your first, it's pretty often when an inspector comes out that it's either going to be maintenance or installation, which he needs to just push back. Like, don't go down on the first punch. That's the key.
And
yeah, you can hire your own inspector.
We've been there where we
hire your third-party inspector and have them go out and look at it and give their opinion of it. That's another big piece.
They tried to fail a carpet job that we did, and that's what the first thing we said. They were like, the inspector said it's your guys' fault. We said, all right, we're going to hire our own inspector then and to go take a look at it. That was the end of that one. And then there was
100% the end of it.
There was another one where the manufacturer was like, you guys did this, this, and this. And it's like, no, we have that documentation. You guys waited too long to throw the VCT down. Well, no, we didn't, because you say that we have, 10 hours to throw it down. We were in and out in less than 8 hours, and it's all documented. And then not only that, at some point it was, but you guys know that we're certified, right? Oh, hold on. Let me get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then
I think that those are a lot of the keys where training come in. And A, you know what to ask for. B, you know where you can stand and fight. Like, there's certain things not worth fighting for on an inspection, and there's certain parts where you can dig your heels in if you know what you're doing. And not to say that, like, I think we can all agree, most flooring failures are because of either the environment or the installation. I mean, manufacturers, they have culpability and have failures, no doubt about it, but they are making their product in a controlled environment with all these state-of-the-art tools. I mean, they have a lot less areas where they're going to make a mistake than you are out in the field moving this damn thing around in a at a school or something. So that just goes back to more training. Go to training, learn where you can. Well, first off, meet the people that we've just been talking about this whole podcast. The people you're going to meet there can save your life. I've called Jose and Daniel on stuff, they've called me on stuff. We bounce things off of each other. We have other people that we will call for advice and things. Like, just get to know the community first. But secondly, just knowing where you can really dig your heels in, and what are those ASTM standards? What are the installation instructions from the manufacturer? So you can fight some of those deals. But that all said, uniting under, what do we have to unite under? And I think it's clear. It's the installation community, the training, and then manufacturers have been making flooring forever. We can adapt to the new products and things as we are higher trained. I mean, just put some guy that's never put a large format tile down and let him go try, and it's like, if you've never been shown or properly trained on particularly like gauge porcelain panels, I guarantee you are going to have yourself a nightmare. So get trained, get involved,
Get your support group.
Yeah, reach out. Anybody on this podcast I know, would be, I am more than willing. I know Daniel's more than willing. I guarantee you, Jerry, being with Protect All, and Sunny, Beth is with the publication, so she might tell you.
Got the resources.
She knows someone. She knows someone.
She knows somebody.
She knows everyone, so you're
That's
safe
right.
if you reach out. But I mean, we've made it known. It's one of the things, like Dan or Jose said earlier, that he loves, is that we are willing in this industry to help each other out. But you got to know. So the installers just got to communicate a little bit more. So
we have to be.
The other point I was going to make actually is the communication side is something I've noticed. I haven't been to any NAFCT training, so Sonny, we're going to have to get together on that. But something I've learned is there actually is so much training going on, but so many people don't know about it. There's organizations being developed that people don't know about that's bringing training local to a specific area that I even know that FCEF is funding that they don't even promote. And I know everyone's overwhelmed. I know they have a lot on their plate, but until you tell everyone what you're doing, and I know people don't always want to, be like, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing. But you need to, like where we're at right now, like these young people coming up, they need to see everyone who's involved. They need to see the John Steyers, all of you. They need to know who they can reach out to in their area if they're interested. I mean, because their parents are not telling them about it. We're coming out of a generation of parents who don't necessarily, they didn't come up through the trades.
Yep.
So that's at least where it needs to start, is that awareness piece. But then the other side is for those of us who are in the industries, we've got to figure out how to communicate that to each other even.
I tell you what, as a training aggregator, which is one of the main things Go Carrera does, like we put all the trainings together, we have a training page, and we try to aggregate it all. It's like getting the message out there, and then anybody reacting. I've posted a few times with mixed reviews on social about a training in an area, and it's not the comments that come back or anything that I've taken notice of. It's the engagement of that. It doesn't get engaged with very well. I don't know why. I don't know the answer to that piece, but
I think some people are just scared, man. Some people are scared to be told that they're not doing it right. Some people are scared of failure, right? They don't want to go to a training or a certification and walk away saying, oh, man, I've been doing it wrong, or, oh, man, that was over my head, or I didn't pass. You know what? It's not a failure if you're learning something, right?
Well,
you're not failing.
If that's you, and if you're in the audience and that's you, drop the ego.
Right,
and
it's not only that.
But here's another component, something to think about that it just didn't dawn on me. But actually, a lot of people don't read well. Like a lot of people who've been doing this for so long don't read well. They're not good test takers, things like that. So let me put the word out.
I didn't think you were going to call Daniel out like that.
So
don't read any of my
But
articles.
if that's the case, then in that situation, you just need to go to the people who are in charge and just explain. They will make accommodations for you so that you can get through it. You
We do
know?
that with bilingual classes. We try to have an interpreter there.
Yeah.
And I was
And,
gonna say it's
and
like it's not only like everything that we're talking about. It's also we've been to a class where someone showed up and they're like they see us and they're intimidated. They're like, "Ooh, why am I here?" And it's like we're all here for the same thing, man. We're just trying to learn too. And they ended up leaving, and it's like don't be intimidated just because you think that we're better than you, right? Everyone has something to teach someone. I can learn something from you just as well as you can learn something from me.
That's right.
That's right. It's the same thing. I did a wood certification years ago. The company I was working for thought it was a resilience certification. I went to a wood certification, right? I had zero knowledge at that point about wood flooring, but I went in there and it was already paid for, and I said, you know what? It's okay. I'm in the wrong place. I said, but I'm going to do all this, and I'm going to pass, right? Yep. I challenged myself, and I did, and that's fine. If you know a little bit about some flooring, that's going to go a long way, no matter what discipline you're getting trained or certified in. But and for those people who, like Beth said, people who can't read that well or are afraid to public speak or can't really articulate their words properly, it's okay. The flooring industry is blessed with a lot of hands-on. A lot of the classes is more. There is a class, there is an instructor, and maybe the ratio isn't what you want it to be or isn't what they want it to be. But I assure you that nobody is there to put you in a bad spot to make you fail. Everyone wants to see you succeed and pass. Everyone wants to see you walk out of there with more knowledge than you walked in with. And if you have all the knowledge, share.
And that's part of it too, right? Because even if you don't get certified, you're still learning. It's still a win.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I guess, at the core of it is learn for your, go to the training to learn the stuff for yourself, and, maybe leave the immediate gratification of making more money the next day you get certified, or, like Daniel said, if you're really good, go help others. I remember there's every certification course I've been to, every training I've been to, there's somebody who's really good in there that's walking around helping others as they finish their module before anybody else. It just tends to happen.
Yeah.
And it's always been a friendly, enjoyable scenario. So
non-competitive.
Yeah, just get 100%. Out there, expose yourself to it as much as you can, to build your own career. Like if you're a flooring installer, you are your product. Your knowledge, your hand skill in your head is your product. And the best way to turn that into a whether you want to have just a good living or, turn it into a lot of money, is by doubling down on your knowledge. I mean, even if you go and say, I'm going to let Jerry's got to run, it looks like. Jerry, you want to say a few last parting words for us?
Yeah, guys, and I hate to cut this short because this is a great conversation, but
you are on a boat on a lake, man. I mean,
well, I got to go pick up kids, so it's priorities. Because we got family in. No, but this is great. And for anybody listening, man, and Beth, I think you said it, but the resources on this webinar and those out there, we're all willing to help. We want to create trainings that work for everybody. And we want to put in topics that everybody wants to learn more about, in addition to, because we know everybody knows how to put down sheet goods and cut and things like that, but we want to get into topics that people want to learn more about too. So just remember, we want to hear that, and we want to know how we can do it better. So it's accommodating to people coming in, and really that's, for me, I think all of us coming together, we've started a little bit of it that I shared earlier, bringing in other manufacturers to touch on topics when we do classes. But we want to hear from people how we can do it better, because that's very important to me always. How do people get the most out of a class that Protectile puts together? And I've heard other manufacturers that, intrigued to hear the same. So keep sharing it with us, and we'll definitely continue to do better on our side and add more to bring value to people that come to those classes.
And let them know how to get a hold of you, too.
Yeah.
Thank you for that input.
ProtectAllFlooring.com.
Thank you for that input there, Jeff. I appreciate that.
No,
All
it's great,
right.
guys.
Well, wrapping up here. Thanks, Jerry, for joining us. We have come upon our 1 hour, so we're gonna shut this thing down. We'll go around. Last closing statement. Mine is what I got out of this whole thing is that the fact is we as a flooring community overall, it's the smallest big industry I know. Like the one you can sit across the table from the CEO of Shaw or Mohawk at a luncheon at just a general flooring convention. It's the smallest big industry I know. And everybody, you've heard it across the table here, everybody's willing to help one another. So get involved, join, and that is in its very nature uniting. If you go to these things where everybody congregates and make these shows, the installer has a bigger presence. You will be listened to more. It's Go Carrera's rally cry to give the installer a voice, but you have to take your steps and you got to take your part. So that's my 2 cents. Sonny, I'll go right down the list. Any closing thoughts there, sir?
The biggest thing for me is going to be ASTM. I always talk about ASTM. If there's ever a complaint or a problem on one of your job sites, you will be judged by one or multiple ASTM standards. And it drives me crazy when people don't know what those standards are. So join. It's $75 to join as a individual. Join and understand those documents, and I promise you, it will help you with headaches on a job site.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, Sonny. It was awesome. Good to see you again.
Yes, sir. Always good to see you. Appreciate you having me.
How about you, Beth?
I'll go back to the communication part. Make use of your trade publications. I mean, I want to plug FCI Magazine, but the truth is reach out to Jeff at Pro Installer, reach out to Floor Covering News, reach out to Weekly. Let us know what you guys are doing. I mean, we represent the voice of the industry, but we can only put out there what we get. So if no one's talking to us, then nothing's going out. So please, just whoever you feel most comfortable with, reach out to that person, that magazine.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. If I can say one more thing, her point was spot on because she wasn't selfish. She mentioned all the other publications that are out there. And if you get in the minutia of all this training, we all support each other, right?
Yeah.
There may be some here or there. I get it. It's political. It's going to happen. But if you get down to it, we all support each other because we all want to support the installer who's on the job site.
Yeah.
We're not selling anything but education.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the same goes for the trades publications. Like, honestly, yes, we're all competing for the same news. But at the end of the day, you're going to see us all sitting together at an event somewhere. So
That's right. That's right.
Jose, what's your closing thoughts?
All right, closing thoughts are, if really the topic of the conversation was how can we bring the industry together and unite, it's existing installers out there who aren't really strong for the certification or don't really push for certification or training. Do your best to change your mindset, right? Because the amount of information you're going to get and the knowledge you're going to gain is very, very minimal to the opportunities that you're going to have in front of you through the social capital that you're going to create. The social capital alone is worth its weight in gold. And even if you go through trainings and don't get certifications, at least you're increasing that capital to where you have someone you can call. And if someone calls you because you're climbing the ranks of someone who's knowledgeable, then you're going to know someone that you can refer them to if you don't have an answer. And I think that that's really what is going to unite everyone under the same blanket is having that social capital, that the ability to lean on the industry for questions and answers. That is really what is going to help each other out.
Well said. Thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Daniel?
We're talking about being united, right? Everyone, manufacturers, retailers, stores, installers, we're all here to put in a beautiful floor that's going to last the lifetime of the floor that's supposed to be down, right? So we need to get together. And like you said, especially as installers, we're kind of that minority group at these shows and stuff. So we need to group together even more so that way our presence is known. So if the more people we get out there, they have to start paying attention to us. We're not just that afterthought. So let's come together. Let's go to these shows. Let's hang out, man. Let's talk to each other. That's what it's all about.
Right.
And
That's right.
I know at
so
a lot of the
you're
shows
watching
you don't have a lot of time. Like I only seen Sonny for dinner one time as surfaces, but hey, we still hung out.
Made time. That's right.
Well, if you're in the audience, you like any of the topics that we've talked about, or that you have found some things that struck a chord with you, please consider liking, subscribing, comment on the Facebook pages and YouTube. Help us out there. But importantly, we'd like to know what topics you guys want to have us discuss. We've got a lot of years and access to many of the industry professionals. So consider a like and subscribe. And with that, I'm going to wrap this thing up. Everybody, thank you so much for coming. It was a blast. As usual, we came right up on the hour. It went faster than I even expected. So
I know.
That's what happens when you're.
By the way, guys, before we started, Paul said I want to keep this at around a half hour.
30 minutes.
And you seen me laugh. You seen me laugh right when you said that too. So.
We did it twice. Yeah.
We did it twice. I love
Twice is good.
Thanks, Sonny.
All right,
Thanks,
guys. We'll
Beth.
have a great rest of your 4th of July.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Have a good.
All right,
rest
see you,
of your
everybody.
Fourth.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.